Let's go. Doug and Rob on the mic, spring running the show. Turn the dial up, let the nonsense flow. Triptych in the corner, wagging her tail, ready for the road. And history in the rear view, spices in the air. Cooking up a story, got a guest in every chair. Entrepreneurs and dreamers, music in the night. On the Nonsense Chronicles, everything feels right. Turn it up, let the laughter roll. On the road with the heart and a rock and roll soul. From the kitchen to the highway, chasing every spot. We're living out loud, making magic in the dark. Spring's got the soundboard mixing up the fun. Doug's got the question drops, always on the run. Fiddler's got opinions, barking out the truth. Every episode's a journey, every moment's living through. Turn it up, let the
Hello and welcome to the Nonsense Chronicles. This is Doug Chachere, and as always, I am joined by...
Rob Mendiola.
Hello, Rob, and it's good. We took I think, what's that, our fourth break in the fourth year?
Something like that. Man.
Yeah, so four breaks over
Not too
4
bad.
years. We took a week off.
For old guys.
Yeah, for older guys, and had all kind of doings going on, and but we are back at it today. And
Life happens, man.
Life does happen, man. Sometimes it gets a little crazy.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we're back at it today, and...
We got Louisville on the line.
we got Louisville. Yeah, we got Louisville online. Yeah,
We're trying to figure out how to say that properly.
I say Louisville.
Like
That's
locals.
That's how I always say. Victor Vasquez of FAIRDALEKINGS.com.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce it, man?
Louisville.
See?
Louisville. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to
Yeah,
get.
there's a lot of different ways that people say it. It's not Louisville.
Yeah,
People
that's
call
what
it
I always say.
Louisville. For locals, I guess, and just I've been here since '84.
Wow.
It's Louisville, or some of the people just call it the Ville.
Oh, wow.
Hey, you know what? Let me tell you. Today we're talking about, as we always do with Victor every year, and sometimes twice about it. We're talking about EA College Football 27 coming out, and let me get on the subject of real college football right now. You know me, Vic. I always pull for SEC first, but because they're going to go back to being what they were before. You know what I want your team Louisville to do in Week 1, right?
Oh, we're going to smash Ole Miss, man.
I hope-
We're going down to Nashville and we're going to put the hammer on them. They're not ready. Louisville, I think we're probably. I've been looking at Athlon and Phil Steele and all the national reports. EA Sports actually has us in the top 25. We've got a lot of really good pieces. Low key, we did great in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
I think it's all going to fall on the shoulders of the quarterback. We picked up the backup quarterback from Ohio State.
That worked out for us before.
It gives us some versatility that Brom hasn't had in the past, because this kid can actually, run as well as pass. So it gives us that other threat to our offense that we've been lacking. During the but Satterfield era, we had Malik Cunningham, and we had some guys that were, run first kind of quarterbacks. And of course, when Petrino was here, of course we had Lamar Jackson who won the Heisman. But it gives us that other tool in our belt now with this Jeff Brom offense now, and I think it's his fourth year. We get a little bit more dynamic. Of course, we've got one of the top 3 running backs in college football, and Isaac Brown. People kind of forget about him, but we also have a complimentary back in Kewan Brown. So we picked up some kids from a transfer portal receiver, but it should be a really good game. We play on the Sunday night before Labor Day, so we play in that first weekend, and we've got a 7:30 kickoff. We're playing down in Nashville, so for Louisville, that's a 2-hour drive.
Yeah, that's
So,
almost
we're
a home
going to have
game.
a lot of support
Yeah.
down in Nissan Stadium, and we're looking to kick off the season, and Brom gets ready for these big games. Like, he'll probably win this game, and then we'll turn around next week, and we got like Villanova, and we'll struggle. It's how he's always been. He knocks off the paper champs, and then they come back down to reality. But you give him all off season to get focused on Ole Miss. Of course, Kiffin's not there anymore. I mean, it's going to be a different kind of Ole Miss.
Yeah, they think they're just going to plug and play. Like, I have a news for them. I mean, they have some talent on that team, but don't get me wrong. But you're not running the same offense. You don't have the same minds that you did before at head coach and offensive coordinator. It's going to make a difference. And they definitely had to settle on some things. And look, I hope that they get their tail kicked and to get a wake up. But I don't want them angry before they play us, which that's going to be, in week 3 or whatever. Yeah. That's going to be insane.
And it's hard now, though, in this day and age. There's really not a whole lot of continuity because of all the comings and goings and guys going pro or, transferring and whatnot. But it's that chemistry, those things that you're doing in the offseason to kind of get your program and your team together. I mean, we see what happened. Florida State had a great year a couple of years ago when they went undefeated and then didn't make the playoffs and then turn around and a lot of those guys transferred. They hit the transfer portal harder than anyone else.
Yeah, what they go 2-10 or
something? Once they started taking a loss, I think they lost to LSU like to kick off the season. And buddy, the wheels fell off because those guys didn't know each other. They were all just paid assassins there to do a job. And when you're not winning, it's hard to kind of keep that family, that chemistry together. So everyone's facing these different challenges. We'll see how how it materializes and how it all shakes out. But Louisville.
Yeah, no, it kind of.
I know we got Ole Miss and SMU. We got Florida State, and then that's about it. We avoid Clemson this year. Thank God for Miami. They come Louisville. We went down Miami last year and busted their butt down there in Miami, even though they went to the national championship. Louisville knocked off Miami. People forget that. We went down there to the U, and we beat them in South Florida last year.
Man,
so if we play them, it won't be to the ACC championship game.
And I'm stoked about it. And it's funny. As we lead this into the game, there's so many changes in college football, and I think it's really important because there's so many different pieces. There's the continuity. If you talk about continuity, man, think of that on teams when you brought in like in baseball where there were changes, especially you would see that, or even basketball because you have fewer players on the court at a time. The way that college football, you have to have a team now behind the scenes that's doing that evaluation process on how is this person going to be able to react to the situation. Well, guess what? Going into the game this year, EA College Football 27, that's exactly what it looks to me like. I had to, from the beta, and Vic, we're going to go into you touching it because you touch it a lot more than I did before because it looks. They are putting a lot of factors into that off season in your recruiting, and then I haven't got to the transfer portal to even touch that yet. I played with it just a little bit, but I'm going to find out. We're all going to find out. How far did you get into dealing with dynasty mode on that game? How far?
You talking about on the beta that I'm playing right now?
Yeah, the same. I got into it last night.
Yeah. So I played 8 weeks so far, and it is so deep. It's going to take people, an hour at a time if you're going to put in work, and if you're playing an online dynasty against, other users, if you're the guy that's just going to go in there and click your hours to start off with and then abandon and only play games, there's no way that you're going to have a complete roster come season 2 or season 3 because the depth that's involved in this now, before you even start the dynasty, before you get into week 1, you've got to set what they call your dynasty blueprint.
Yeah, your support staff and everything, man.
You've got a support staff, you got facilities, NIL, as far as paying players, all that's lumped into one kind of basket. And it depends on, we talk about buckets, for guys who play Madden, understand what I'm talking about, and Madden Ultimate Team. And Dynasty, you've got 5 buckets, which could be for finance, which could be for your facilities. It could be for your assistant coaches. It could be for your players. Anyway, you get 5 of those, but that's dictated by your level of prestige. So I started with Louisville just, to get the ball rolling and kind of, get a feel. I didn't want to take over one of these supercharged teams. I was like, let's take over 3.5-star Louisville. Well, I only get 3 buckets. Well, in my preseason, I did like 500 points allocated to my recruiting. I needed a recruiting coordinator. That's going to help with, the price of NIL to bring it down just a little bit. And, I was like the 2nd or 3rd level out of 5. So I didn't go all in because I had a limited budget. I also did I had like a general manager, and that would save me some points and get me some more points whenever I complete objectives. Long story short, though, of the 5 buckets, I only get 3. Well, what I didn't do a support staff for like trainers. So as I get into my dynasty, week 4 rolls around, and my 3rd string running back, you have practice mode. You got to allocate. Do you want guys to play, no practice? They can be off, no practice, limited practice, or full practice. And you want full practice because you're going to get points to help maximize your player, and they go into a game hot or whatever. So you prefer that they practice because you have a chance to improve their overall. Well, 3rd string running back, PCL sprain. He misses the game against SMU. I'm like,
God.
Oh, that's pretty realistic. Okay, that's cool. Well, I go into week 5, and I've got NC State, who's ranked in this game. I've got everyone sharp. I'm like, you're all going to practice this week. Unless something said that someone was beat up from NC State, I might put them on limited practice. I turned it loose. All the dogs had to practice. It was like a John Harbaugh practice, I guess. Coming out of that practice, I had 10 guys injured. My starting quarterback didn't get to play. Both my right and left tackles didn't play. My Sam linebacker.
Jesus Christ.
And it was anywhere from 1 week to 6 weeks. I had some guys that had a dislocated knee. Another guy had a dislocated elbow. We had sprains. So, there's layers to this, man. So,
Yeah,
in the past, you would play this game and you had to worry about wear and tear. Hell, now you got to worry about, hey, do I want to rest my star quarterback and not practice because I've got a big game against a user? I can't risk this dude getting hurt in practice. So there's so many different things and variables now that you've got to worry about. Not just
practice.
Hey, can I beat this guy heads up? I got to worry about that stuff.
Yeah, I was wondering about that, whether I should just sim that or not. So you suggest, can you slide like how deep your guy is in practice? Like, can you have a guy have a light practice?
Yeah, so you can do full practice, limited practice, no practice, or just give the guy the week off. Uh-huh. And of course, you give a guy a week off, you get 0 points, toward training. But, at some point, you might have maybe a 99 overall in your dynasty. You don't want to run the risk of that guy getting hurt. I'm capped out. This guy's never going to get better anyway. Now, he might not go into the game hot. He might go in cold. But, you go out there and you perform and you got, some stick skills. You don't have to worry about that variable.
Yeah, I would rather him get his points in the game. That's why I'm if it's important enough player. Now, let me ask you this, man, and there's so many little things to hit, and we're big dynasty players. There's Road to Glory and all this, but the point levels on the recruit level, which I always go into recruiter, the point levels of each thing going up. It's not like it used to be where like 8, 8, 8 on the first 4, it is 4 8s, no, it's like, I don't know if it was 12, then 16 or 26. I mean, let me ask you this. Do you get, I'm going to go ahead and assume that we went from 50 to 100 last year on coach points. I'm assuming it goes beyond that this year.
That's something that they have not talked about in great detail.
I mean,
if they did, I might have missed it during the presentation.
You'd have to.
Because the point level started at 16 this year.
Yeah.
I was blown away with them. Like,
I was too.
They were more liberal with giving me points, week to week. So, I didn't go into justice like, I want this super fast advancement. But, I'm getting 90 points a week after I complete games. So, I was getting more access to open up more and more stuff. I use Motivator, I believe, is what my archetype is. Just because, what happens is you go out on the field and you see those things, while you're playing. For instance, my man coverage, if I get to level 3, might be 0.1 or 0.2, +1, +2 better. So let me get that until I get to level 10 coach, and then I'll adjust and say, you know what, now I'm going to start focusing on recruiter.
That's not a bad idea, and I switch up some things as I go on too. But yeah, that's not a bad idea. But I had to say that with that many points it cost to get to different level. I'm like, they made it harder in some aspects and how you want to spread it around. But I'm like, well, they definitely had to go past level 100 than this time. That has to be. I mean, I can't see, because you'd only get through it. Hell, you'd get through it maybe on the first. You wouldn't even be able to get to the point where you'd switch into the get the master unlock on the second version. I forgot what that's called, but the master recruiter or whatever. But yeah, I wondered about that. I said I got to ask Vic. Like they didn't even give us real players. They gave us just generic players to start off with the beta, right?
Yeah, no, everyone right now on the beta is just generic players, and that's probably the best way to do it. Now, what it did was it lowered the overalls for a lot of people, and that might be one of the reasons why my team at Louisville was so beat up, because I think my starting quarterback's a 75 overall. So, those guys probably didn't have a lot of stamina and the physicality. So after playing 5 weeks or whatever, playing at Ole Miss in the opener and playing a tough, SMU team, we were probably a little bit banged up. So, get ready going to NC State week. I could see them now, maybe not 10 guys, but it told me right from there whenever I saw that, it crossed my mind. It's like, you know what, when I actually go live, when everyone gets this game, July 2nd or July 9th, depending on, if you pre-ordered or not, I'm getting a support staff, to help my players, on this wear and tear. That's going to be first and foremost, because I have to have guys on the field, at the end of the day. So
that's smart.
Yeah.
That's a smart lesson learned early.
Yeah, I learned it early. I don't have to go in like everyone else who didn't have access to it. Like, oh yeah, they're going to think like I did. Like, hey, let's get a budget so we make sure that we get more access to NIL points, and let's do, recruiting and all this stuff. No, I got to worry about right now the guys that I have on the field that I'm going to battle with. I've got to worry about the guys that I physically have right now, because you're not going to get those other players anyway if you're not winning games. So if all the guys are sitting on the bench not playing, it doesn't matter, what I'm doing in season 2, season 3. I got to get through season 1. And what I can see happening a lot is people are going to get fired. Like, unless you turn that off.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I saw
you've
that.
got AD requirements now, which is another factor in this. Like, you've got the AD is going to tell you, okay, you've got to do X, Y, and Z. It might be you've got to win 3/4, 75% of your conference games. You've got to beat, in Louisville's case, you got to beat your rival. I've got to beat Kentucky. And then it says, you might have to go a bowl game within the first season, the second season. I've seen some teams that were really lax. It's like, you just have to go to a bowl game within the first 5 seasons. Now, one that really stuck out to me was like North Dakota State. They're one of the worst teams on the game. Now, they shouldn't be. Athlon has them like top 75 in the country.
But this is their first year in Division One. Yeah,
it's their first year, and it says they've got to go to a bowl game in the first 2 years. And they've also, another requirement from their AD is they've got to be in the top 25. I'm sitting there thinking, this team is starting off at 138 on the game. And you're telling me within the first 2 seasons, I've got to be in the top 25? Holy cow. So, it gives you a little bit of pause for those guys that are going to be 1-star, or 0-star. Some of these teams are 0 stars now. And I want to rebuild. You're not going to be able to rebuild and turn one of those lowly teams into a powerhouse in 1 or 2 seasons.
No,
and it's just because you might only have, say, for instance, 3,000 NIL points, whatever that translates to. And then Ohio State has 12,000. Now, the max is 15. We've already learned that. The max that you can have is 15,000 points. Now, what I don't know, and I think I've got to do a little bit digging on, I think I saw someone posted on, one of social media, someone, is that your NIL points don't regenerate year over year.
Uh-oh.
So, like, whatever your total is, you've got to build it up. Now, what does happen, I'll give you an example. Say I go after the star quarterback, 5-star quarterback. He expects 150 NIL points. I give him 200. I want to make sure I seal the deal. Let's get him. Now, some guys will turn their nose up, be like, hey, I don't want your extra points. They're going to become really disinterested. To say that I do get the guy for 200. Now, After I get him in, he plays that first season for me, and I was paying him 200 points. Season 2 comes around, his NIL is going to drop from 200 down to like 40 or 20 or something, So it's almost like you signed a guy for a package deal. You have to get him interested with that package at first, but you don't keep paying him 200 every year.
Thank God.
But what does happen, depending on what his performance is on the field, though, that's where there's a variable, and this becomes a little bit more, if you got a guy that you bring in as a freshman and he throws for damn 5,000 yards and 60 touchdowns, now that guy might want 400 NIL, and he's looking at going to the transfer portal because he's the thing. So there is a little impact there. What you might do if you got, like, say, 3 running backs, you might say, hey, I'm going to give all 3 of y'all carries to make sure that you all come back and you don't want to transfer out. I keep you happy enough. But I also don't want to feed you so much that you run for 2,500 yards and you want to go to, now you want a whole bunch. You want to really chase the bag and make a bunch of money or transfer somewhere else.
Yeah, see, I split that time up on running back.
Strategy.
You better believe it. Yeah, the same like getting ball catch receptions by receivers, and I saw a guy had a podcast with Temple, and he was talking about why didn't he get that? I'm like, well, because you're Temple. That's just the way it is. But I mean, there's this because we've played that before where we do the 1-star dynasty or the 5-star, and there's a difference. There's building has got its own merits, and then your favorite team, if that's a great team, that's got its merits too. And I saw those things, and man, it is so damn deep. It's definitely going to take some learning too, and there's going to be some losses probably this season that I wouldn't have taken in the last game, So that's what I'm assuming right now, and it's going to be learn as you go.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a big difference between the haves and the have-nots, and you're going to notice it. Something they incorporated. There's a little mini game within just running, say for instance, the quarterback sneak. You used to line up in 4th and inches and. Depending on what the defense is, if the guy's in a 6-2 front, majority of the time, 90% of the time, you're probably going to be successful on the quarterback sneak. Well, now there's a mini game. It's almost like a kicking meter, and it goes back and forth, and you got to hit the button right in the middle, or the green area. Now, depending on, and the meter changes depending on the level of the players at your center and your 2 guards, compared to the nose tackle, and then where they line up at. So if they're not in the A gaps per se, that bar is going to be a lot larger. So you have more chance to hit within that strike zone.
Yeah, if I'm LSU also, and I'm playing Troy, I would expect it.
You ought to be able to run through them.
Yeah,
you ought to be able to run through them, and that's going to be determined by not just how they align, but also the abilities.
The
your
personnel
ratings matter. You can't just go line up behind the center and stand there and then just shoot the gap. That's also something that, that they're kind of trying to take that away. And I've probably played 20 plus games head to head against my son. He's a really gifted player. I think I'm 1-19, but here's the deal. I've got the win streak. I beat him in our last game last night. So right now I'm riding high. He's pretty upset.
That's
but
it.
I was in one of my bags. I had a nice playbook that I'm very familiar with some extra, they did add some more plays. The play base, the database is so much larger than what it's ever been. But my point is, though, we were playing, I think it was Charlotte and Tulane. Or no, Houston and Tulane is what it was. And, our players stacked up. We were like 81 overall and a 79. So it mattered on who had the better skill. But he tried a quarterback sneak, and my actual D-line was better than his O-line. So I stopped it. He anticipated, I'm just going to line up and run it and pick it up. And when he didn't convert like a 4th and inches, he was mad. It was actually the difference of the game, was that I was able to stop him when it mattered most. And you didn't see that a lot, this year in that kind of way, unless someone, lined up in a 53-man and, just ran right through the A-gap. It wasn't happening. You could see his guy was trying to crawl over the pile and it couldn't make it. So it's just those little details that EA has incorporated into this game, not just in college football, but also in, Madden. They brought a lot of these details and they're sharing across both the platforms, both games, which is truly exciting. I've loved college football. We've been playing since it was Bill Walsh and in NCAA football for years, whatever it was. But we were without a game for 11 years and was excited to get it back. And then 26 came around. It was more like 1.5. There wasn't a whole lot of things that changed, just some little ads. This is generally the best college football game that's ever been made.
Yeah,
I'm so excited for this game.
It's the deepest I've ever. I mean, it is so deep, man. And
you have total control. I mean, you can go in and change, the way zones play. You can dictate how your guys align. If you want them lined up inside, outside, they can line up to stacks or to tight bunch. You make that decision on how you want to play, what your preference is. And, what's going to happen. A lot of guys won't even mess with it, and that's fine. You're just going to play on default. But the guys who get in there and know football and know how they want it done, and they have, a manner, you can either win a game or lose a game just by your, pregame settings. You might make that wrong choice and, you put yourself in a bad situation. But it's how you attack the game. Stuff that you're comfortable running, you can determine if you play cover 4, if you want to play, palms or quarters, or if you want to play just straight zone. You can determine if your guys, are going to in zone, if they're going to go hunt for work. If someone's not in their zone, maybe I can go, freelance a little bit and go find someone who might be a threat. Or you just say, hey, I want you guys to just stay in your designated area and not leave. But you have total control over that.
Yeah, it is. It is night and day compared to anything that they've ever put out before, and it'll be interesting to see how it progresses year after year. Man, like I said, there's a good chance if you play Dynasty that you're going to get fired, which is it's funny, man. That hadn't happened in a long time in that game, man, that I can remember. I'm pretty sure I did get fired a long time because we played in leagues where it was all, you had 28 to 32 humans playing, and yeah, that could definitely be possible. And I could see that happening. I definitely could see that happening now with this setup, man. That's a lot different. But it's another thing too is with the computer guys having access this year, there'll be some jersey and stuff customization probably in the share groups that we didn't have access to before. Isn't that right?
Yeah, those guys do an amazing job, and it was great that EA actually hired a lot of the guys who were part of that college football 14 revamp staff, that kept this game alive on that medium when no one else had access to console. But, those guys on PC did a great job, and they're already looking once they got that verification. And there's some people that kind of, it's been hinted around for the last 6 weeks that it was coming to PC, but until we saw that deep dive, the opening drive that EA put on Chicago on Thursday night, which was wonderful. It was a great event. They had some NFL players there and celebrities and content creators, and they did a good job. But they went into great detail, and they talked about, the PC, and you give these guys the opportunity to go in, and they'll make some modifications and some, they'll add some stuff. Biggest thing I'd be excited for is, seeing them add those teams like North Dakota or South Dakota State, some of the smaller schools that they'll go in and they'll make modifications on stadiums and add all their uniforms and whatnot. So that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, because it's you and I were talking, and you talked about how EA had brought on some people, but these are guys that when we could not play because of the dispute between the players and the NCAA on the pay, they didn't put out a game. So the 2014, NCAA 14 was the last one that got put out, and they were doing modifications to keep the game going all these years. Because people would have time to have something to still play. That you had shareable files that you could get. Didn't matter if you were on a PC or on any console. You could download it on your system and put it on. Well, the thing about it is they have guys now that they brought from that community, but they'll still have other guys that they didn't bring, and those guys will be able to create stuff in their files and share. And that's just an added bonus. Usually a lot of time I don't like the PC gamer involved like with combat games, but in this scenario, I like it a lot because they actually bring something to the game. They help make the game even better. So that's a bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it would materialize just because of the fact that there is still some players that do not have NIL agreements with EA
Right.
and how they would handle that. If those guys would go in and, add players that weren't necessarily on the game. So that was the only gray area that I was on the fence on, thinking it might not come to PC just because of that. But it is here. We'll see what roadblocks they put up for them, to keep them from creating players or how that's handled. But, the more platforms this game has and give people exposure to EA Sports College Football 27, the better. If it's coming on, the Nintendo Switch 2, or if it's PC or whatever. I know that I haven't heard anything yet about the Switch. It is on mobile this year, which that'll be cool, and there'll probably be a free feature like Madden was. And there's something else that they haven't even really discussed yet. It's still down the road. They just hinted at it during the opening drive presentation. It's going to be community-based, so we'll see what that shakes out to be. I think we're probably going to find out about that third quarter of this year. So we'll wait to see if there's something else that's also in the works for EA, where they kind of combine not just college football, but maybe the Madden communities and bring those two together. As what we haven't talked about is they've got Road to Glory, which has been expanded. And then, maybe you might be able to take your sim player from Road to Glory to playing in college. And then maybe the next evolution in this will be you'll see that guy now in superstar mode in Madden.
Yeah.
I can see that being something that's in the works.
Yeah, I've heard some hints at that as well. So that would be really nice, for those players. Like I said, I just look at on the last game we had 26. I just started I think it's my fifth 30-year dynasty. So I've completed 4 30-year dynasties already. And yeah, I mean, I love that game. There's just so many people that do. That's why, like, this year there's that MVP plus. What's it called?
MVP plus membership, not the bundle. And see, if you can do the bundle, but the bundle, I guess now would give you access to the game early. But if you're trying to play the beta, which is what the biggest confusion was in the last couple of days, was people were buying the bundle and not the membership. There are some perks to the membership. If you do MVP plus, it renews every year, and you will keep this game in your library. I guess it's going to be on the cloud. Even if you don't renew the membership, you still have access to College Football 27 10 years from now, if you still have your console. So there are some perks, and there are some
7-day early access.
7-day early access. The game comes out officially on July 9th. But if you do buy the bundle or, get the MVP Plus membership, you'll have access to the game on July 2nd and be able to play the game a week before everyone else. And it's a big jump. I mean, it's like, I'm not going to pay, $20 or $30 more if you get a membership. Now it's $150. But you know what? I'm an EA Play member already. So instead of paying $149.99, I was already paying $134.99. So I already saved $15. And I'm getting both access to both Madden as well as college football. So you get 2 games. I get them a jump start, and I also get, I do play Madden Ultimate Team and College Football Ultimate Team. So they send you packs of cards once a month. You do get a reward. It's just little extra things, man. And
I want those extra
access to some events.
And you get like what, 150? Well, what do you get extra? How many coach points extra do you get? Like 150 or something like that?
150 extra coach points, and then also, what it's not available right now during the beta, but there's another tier. So how you have recruiter and motivator and all that, CEO, whatever, in Dynasty. Well, they've got an ability called Rainmaker, and it's only available to people who are MVP Plus members.
That's right. I saw that, and I'm curious because it didn't say. I mean, you might have seen it on the show, but looking at it itself, it didn't detail too much of what it did. Like you would go, I don't know if I looked at it enough, maybe, but I haven't touched it. It would be a tier that I delve into later. Apparently, it's one of those after, like you get through something else. So it's something you'd have to unlock something else first to get there. Anyhow, I believe.
No, you automatically with that, being that you are an MVP member, I think you automatically get access to it. So, and what it is, and that's why, there's some people like, that's kind of weak that, you're paying for access. You know what? I mean, hey, if I want to pay a little bit more for the game, then I ought to get some extra perks, and of course, we can go in, I'm sure, and turn it off. I mean, last year in all my dynasties, I turned off, I think you got 150 points. I turned that off. So no one had that option. I didn't do any of those, any of those bonuses. But on Rainmaker, that's what it is. You have Deal Maker, which is increased recruiting influence from NIL offers. There's also Budget Booster, which is increased dynasty points from my school grade. Stay Power, which means you have increased NIL offer influence to reduce the risk of a player leaving. And the last one is contract incentives. So it increased dynasty points from your AD expectations.
Well, that's going to compete. That's going to compete points between that or spinning them in CEO. And that's why I said that the coach. I'm imagining this year that you can probably go pretty far on that coach level this year. I don't think it'll be 100. I think it'll be maybe 200, if not higher than that, or 250. So
yeah, because so many people were creative, and one of the best archetypes, in my opinion, is talent developer. Last year, of course, I had Georgia and Brandon's dynasty. We were like 8 of us users in that one. And I hit on everyone. All my assistants had talent developer. Of course, I wasn't Kirby Smart. I used my own person in there as the coach. But as soon as I was able to get talent developer, when my players are drafted, I'm getting the XP points. When my freshmen and sophomores, when I got, quarterback whisperer, running back whisperer, they would progress faster in the offseason. So, my players were 90, 92 overalls as freshmen, redshirt freshmen.
Guess what?
Which means they're on the field playing.
I did that. There were certain positions like offensive line and receiver. There were some positions that I went in and did do that because I found I had never done that before. Then I started doing. I was like, oh my God, because I know which positions that I'm going to have drafted high because they're going to see a lot of either defensive stats or they're going to see a lot of offensive stats. And I'm like, well, I want to make sure the next guy gets a boost when this guy leaves early, so yeah.
And I think you're going to be right. I'm looking at, I'm on the beta right now. So I'm looking under talent developer and see last year you had to spend 50 in motivator and 50 in recruiter to open up talent developer.
Right.
This year it's 200 points. So that tells me that, we might not be we might be up into the 300 range, level 300.
It's got to be, man. Because the prices of the 4 basic levels on any of those things are not like I said, they're not 8 points anymore, man. So it's like spending on the high end.
I mean, it's on Tactician, the opening thing is 20 points. I was like, wait a minute, what are we doing? Last year was, we had 8 and then 12. I mean, I think Motivator, I'm looking at Motivator right now, and they got tiered pricing, and it's 15, 20, 25, 30. Before it would just be 8, 8, 8, 8.
Yeah, and then you got
now you got to go 15, 20, 25, and 30 as so they've got to be throwing away more points, at people to.
Yeah, and then if you master any of those, I can only imagine what those cost, so. Yeah, because
elite recruiter.
Yeah,
25, 30, 35, 40.
Yeah,
that's a lot of points, man. So yeah, I mean they're going to have to give you
because
more points to complete those buckets, and then also higher levels for coaches.
Yeah, because I like those extra recruiting hours, man. I've always been a big fan of that, getting to that level. So, but
it's that little extra, it kind of motivates you to kind of want to keep playing the game. That's the thing is that. Replayability, not just can you pick up the game and, play one season and you're done with it. It just, you get in here and you want to compete, you want to keep opening and unlocking things. And that's what, they're giving us. And they're listening to the community. I'm not big in playing Barbie and dress up, but they did add more equipment options for guys. There's hanging mouthpieces, single lace sleeves on players, the wristbands now open and close. You can put them on your belt.
Yeah, even the coaches' apparel's gotten better this year. I saw that too. So
players have logos on their towels and stuff. That's pretty cool. So there's some extra layer of detail, but I'm glad that they have that. At the end of the day, though, it's all about the game and how the game plays. And when you look at what they've done with the AI and how the computer's now more aggressive, it's going to make the game more challenging. It might turn off the guys that just pick up the game, and don't play a lot, because it might be like, oh my God, there's so much. But there's also, on the flip side of that, for us old heads who can't make all these quick adjustments, they've added what they call macros in here, and I can go in and make adjustments before a game in the main menu. And like if I have, say, some hot routes I want to make, I can do that in pregame, and then all I got to do is press 2 buttons, and it's saved, and I don't have to worry about the impact of, hey, did my receiver hear that call? He keeps shaking me off. The screen is shaking and stuff.
Yeah, I'm definitely
When
going
you do those macro adjustments, it's not impacted by, home field advantage.
Yeah, we're gonna have to compare
it does
some
give us
notes.
a little bit of an advantage there. Yeah, it helps us out a little bit. But of course, the younger generation, they're going to figure out, and they're playing the game damn 15 hours a day.
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
but hey, if you ain't working and that's all you're doing is playing a video game, you're going to know all those nuances. But it kind of helps us, some of us old heads, man, who've been doing it, the OGs, and it throws us a bone to help us stay competitive.
I agree, man. I agree, and I want to talk more about it a little bit after we've played it a little bit more and revisit this, like we usually do. I think we've done that the last 2 years. We've gone in and talked a little bit more after we've got into it. So, yeah, let's talk again.
Yeah, because this beta, it's not the final product. There's a lot of people. There are some people, you can't make everyone happy. That's the other thing. There's some people just live life and they're miserable all the damn time.
Yep.
It don't matter what it is. If it's sports, if it's politics, if it's video gaming, you can't make them happy. I don't care what you do, you're never going to make them happy. That's what, I think there's some content creators, that's all they do. They just point out the negatives. What's good about something? What are y'all doing?
Yeah, I've given up commenting on that stuff. Yeah, I agree.
But, why don't we have real players? Well, because, this is just a practice to figure out what the bugs are, what we need to fix. And the people who played Thursday night they're on version 9. We probably just played version 4,
Yeah.
So they tuned up a lot of things. They're wanting people to play the game. It does put out some excitement, but we can identify what some problems are. And instead of, everyone getting the game July 9th and then complaining, this game is broke, well, let's identify and find out what are some of the things that need to be worked on and give them a couple more weeks to, so when the game does come out, they've got 3 or 4 weeks, they'll put out a patch and they'll be that much further along. We have all these data points that we found because we got to play the game and have access to it before anyone else. So Look at it that way. They gave us a little bit of a glance into what the game is. I'm happy. I'm thrilled with EA that they're getting more people involved and they're more transparent. It helps the whole community, and that's never a bad thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah, and look, there's always change. Me and you, the way it is today, me and you will never be able to go out and lurk and try and find out which store will sell us a game early, or what town, this one store in this one town, 2 towns over is selling it early. Man, those days were so fun. That was such a fun life, but that is changed.
I had people, I had a network. Obviously, I used you. I used a guy in Colorado. I had a guy with me up in Florence, Kentucky, but he would go pick up the game in like Toledo, Ohio, which is 225 miles from Florence, Kentucky. He would pick up the game. They'd get like 5 or 6 guys would go up there. They all get games. He would drive down to just south of Cincinnati. I would meet him at the Florence Mall, and it's a 2-hour drive for me up to Florence. So, just so we could exchange the game, and I had the game, a couple copies of the game early.
That's awesome.
And then, I'm giving them away to my buddies, but then, I, of course, was making rosters at that time. So I'm naming all the players so that community have access to name rosters when the game dropped. Or, I had access with EA, so sometimes I got the game early from them.
It was always important that you got it early, my friend. I was always happy.
Yeah, I got it early, and I appreciate all those guys. There was a guy called Skywalker over at Operation Sports. Of course, you as the Cajun commish, your network, and then, of course, I had O-Dog, and just, over that 12 years that I was naming rosters, I ran across a bunch of different characters, and a lot of great people who helped me. And we made sure that we put out the highest quality rosters so that everyone can enjoy this game. And now, if NIL, EA can actually make it official and name the players and pay the players, which is the most important thing.
And now,
it's
we got
full circle.
Yeah, we got to tell people before we get out of here is that check out Fairdale Kings on YouTube. What is it? Fairdale Kings?
At Fairdale Kings it's just YouTube, and then also on X, it's just at Fairdale Kings. And I put out a lot of stuff. I mean, I usually live stream our Dynasty games. We're probably going to start putting out more how-to videos. Just because this game, man, they've changed the mapping of the buttons.
Oof.
It's going to be
that's an important issue.
It's going to be big. Trying to figure that out, and then there's a lot of people that I've been able to make connections with over the years, and I watch their videos. They do a great job. W, I think you're talking about a guy who does a Dynasty with Temple. Well, W he actually won the Madden championship, won the Madden Bowls back in the day, and he loves playing Dynasty, and he uses Temple as one of his teams. He's highly entertaining. Now, I mean, I watch because I just wait to see him explode when he gets pissed at stuff. I mean, so he's volatile. He's great, though. I mean, he's a great watch. But, it's like, hey, Jacquez, my son's beat him a couple times. Him when he flies off the ledge, it's awesome. But it's just, it's a natural thing for him. And then, of course, I watch a guy named Sybil who does a lot more, hey, here's how you do stuff. Use these mini schemes, and he'll show you what plays to run. And he doesn't, just do one playbook. He goes over the course of throughout a year, probably 20 playbooks. So it's a little bit for everything. But yeah, I put those things up on my X account, and people can follow. And, if they want to learn about the game, I'm not just sitting here trying to be a gatekeeper, keep all the knowledge to myself. I try to share with everyone I can. And even if I don't know something, I point you in the right direction and be like, hey, my way of thinking might not be the only way of thinking. But these guys have won Madden championships. They've won hundreds of thousands of dollars of doing this. You all need to also watch them, because they can show you a different way to do things. And you might not do everything they do and try to mimic it, but you can pick and take away things that they do. It's going to help improve your game.
Yeah,
that's the people that I really like to put out there and prop up and give them really their roses. There's a lot of guys, man, who do great for this community. And, there's a lot of negativity. But when you have these guys, and it's like what you did for us back in the day, where you paid for out of your own pocket for us to be on like League Daddy or whatever. And, you had all the stats on everything we did in our dynasties, and, you ran all those leagues. I recognize that. I can respect that, and I love that. And there's a lot of people out there that I follow or I repost stuff that they put out, and make sure that everyone knows where to go for that information.
Yeah, and you know what? We do that. We do that on our podcast too. Like we'll talk about a subject, but we'll say, hey, go to this and go watch this specific thing, and this will really help you. And that's good. No, that's sharing, man. And you do. Fairdale Kings on YouTube is fantastic. I see stuff on there all the time. I usually set my queue because of having that YouTube Premium, which I love, and I'll set my queue on videos I want to watch, and you're always in there, man.
And that's why there's over 40 billion hours of sports content watched annually on YouTube.
Well,
that's crazy.
I had over 100, and I want to say 110 days on this game, which translates to like 2,600 hours played of college football. Which there's only one other person I've seen who had more hours played than me. So, even with working a full-time job, and, it would have been more. I do a lot of stuff from November through December with work doing FedEx. So for like 2 months, I was hardly on the game. I still had, sneak in, my gameplay during Dynasty, but I wasn't on there like I normally is. I played this game. I love this game. I probably played a handful of hours on Madden. This is what I focus on. This is where my concentration is. So, I know the ins and outs of Dynasty. I'm in a very competitive league, and every year I am the top recruiter. I know the ins and outs and how to do stuff, in regards to that. So, but when you go to my YouTube channel and you watch me stream or you watch me show other people stream, I'm not just like a lot of these guys who are editing their videos and only showing you when they win games. No, I'm showing you. I beat people. But I'm going to tell you, I also take some butt whoopings on occasion, and I'm not afraid to hide behind that.
Those damn kids, man.
I do make mistakes, and, and sometimes, you know what? I'll play at my highest level, and it's just not good enough. No. And, you also got to approach that and be like, hey, someone was just better on that day. Yep. But, one of the guys in our one-star dynasty, or not one-star, when Brandon's dynasty, he's won 3 straight national championships.
Wow.
I beat him 3 years in a row when no one else can beat him during the regular season. Like, no one had beat this guy in like 120 games and cut. Like, he's one of the top 50 players in the world on college football.
Wow.
And he's in our league. And every year, 3 years running, I beat him in our regular season. So I can beat the best of players, but I can also lose to the worst of players. You know, I'm not a professional. You know, I don't do this every day playing the top level players because I enjoy playing Dynasty. My son, he is a Madden genius, which carries over very well in college football. So he has that different kind of mindset, and he can do a lot of stuff very well and beat some of the top players, and he rarely loses. That's why I said when I told you we had played 20 times and he beat me 19, it's not because I suck. It's he's very good at his craft and what he does. Yeah, but when I do get those wins, it is awesome. You know, it means something because I'm like, hey, I just beat a guy who's a top 100 in Madden, you know, and he's definitely one of the top 50 in college football. He just doesn't play college football full time. He is this year, though. I finally got him to make that switch. So this year, he goes by Joaquin White as his screen name, his gamer tag. He's going to focus 100% on college football this year, which is awesome. It's going to make him that much better. It's going to make our dynasties that much better. I'm going to get him mad exposure this year, so it's going to be great. Dragging him, you know, to that level.
Yeah, tell him we want some secrets released, man. So, but
yeah, no, I mean, he is very good. He watches all the top players, and you know, he does some stuff, and you know, he's got his own bag that he does. So we're going to put out some content for him this year, which is going to be very, very nice and enjoyable. Trying to get him and raise his exposure and his platform.
All right, people, you heard it. Go to Fairdale Kings on X, but especially hit that Fairdale Kings up on YouTube, and you'll get some good information as it comes out before the game, and of course, once the game comes out, Vic will be revealing a lot of stuff we're learning, and it's going to take a little. It's going to take a community to get that knowledge, man. So, Vic, I appreciate it as always, man.
No doubt, man. I appreciate you guys having me. I know that this is our third year doing this, but heck, we've already put in maybe 5 or 6 episodes over the years. And I look forward to our next one because once this game's released, we're going to come back and revisit this mid-July once we both have some time on the sticks and get reacquainted with this game because this is going to be a different game than what we've ever experienced.
Yep.
And I'm so excited. I'm looking forward. We're less than a month away, so it's going to be awesome this year.
We'll see where our mouths are. Then we'll definitely talk about that. But once again, that's Fairdale Kings on X and on YouTube, and this is the Nonsense Chronicles, and we are out of here.
Later.